What's up, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Scyushi, and we are back again for some more Genshin Impact. Yes, that's right. We have another video today. Today, we're going to be talking about Ayaka, the other 5-star character that was revealed in the recent developer live stream earlier today. Ooh, I'm so excited. We finally get to talk about these characters. Of the two, Ayaka versus Yoimiya, personally speaking, I think Yoimiya kind of looks a lot cooler, but that's just me. Either way, what Yoimiya is going to be is a Pyro Bow user that is going to end up having some insane attack speed, homing shots and stuff like that. She generally seems like a really fun character. I know for a fact that my buddy is going to be rolling on her, so when she ends up actually coming into the game, I'll be able to get lots of footage off of my friend and end up using that in videos for you guys, so you can, I don't know, subscribe if you want to see more. Basically, I cover Genshin like all the time because I'm very passionate about this game in particular. Now, let's get into it. So here's going to end up being all of Yoimiya's Ascension materials. Obviously, you cannot really prepare for her before the Inazuma update hits. You can only really end up getting the Pyro Gem from world bosses, but then otherwise the extra materials are going to be... Oh, she requires treasure hoarder scrolls? Well then, I mean, I got those in droves. Go out there and farm treasure hoarders like crazy, guys. But then there's going to end up being the Naku weed. This could end up changing in its description, but basically this is going to end up being a new plant that will be found in Inazuma, I suppose, whatever. It's going to end up looking like this, at least according to Honey Impact. And then there's going to end up being the Smoldering Pearl. This we know for a fact is coming from the new boss, and he looks absolutely beautiful. So it's going to end up being the Pyro version of the hypostasis cubes. So we're finally going to end up getting the world boss that's going to end up being the Pyro one. From what I've seen, this guy looks absolutely crazy just because phasing him is he's difficult. He seems to be difficult, but that's always going to end up being a lot of fun, right? And then speaking of the talent ascension materials, that is actually going to require the same treasure hoarder scrolls. So obviously, did I say treasure hoarder scroll? That's not a treasure hoarder scroll. That's a Samachurl scroll. I'll be sure to put text on the screen to correct myself on that. But yeah, that's Samachurls. So you're going to have to farm them, not treasure hoarders. Sorry about that, guys. Won't happen again. But anyways, talent materials are going to require the same scroll as well as the new talent books. So the talent books are going to end up being in a new domain in Inazuma. And she apparently takes the teachings of Transience, which these are, again, going to end up being exclusive to Inazuma. However, the weekly boss material she's going to require is the Dragon Lord's Crown, or the Horn of Ajdaha, which is the weekly boss that we can farm. The reason for this, obviously, is because we are not going to be getting a new weekly boss when Inazuma ends up going live. It's going to be a while before we end up getting a new weekly boss, and as far as I'm hearing, it seems like it might finally be Signora, which, you know, Fatui, Harbinger, whatever. Anyways, who cares? I don't want to, you know, speak as if I know what I'm talking about, because a lot of that is just rumors and what have you. Anyways, let's move on to Yoimiya's elemental skill. Oh, there's also going to be a link in the description, so you can end up downloading that for all of her talent materials. So with Yoimiya, we got to cover a couple different things. First of all, you can already see that her normal attacks are probably some of the flashiest in the entire game. The big meme everybody keeps talking about is how, you know, everyone looks to Amber and says that she's just a bow user, but then saying that we want a Pyro Bow user, and then they look to Yoimiya as being like the actual new 5-star Pyro user, Pyro Bow user, because of course Amber just doesn't really work that well. But either way, her attack animations are beautiful. Yes, she ends up doing a big old flip in the air when you end up doing her full combo, which is absolutely awesome. Her charged attacks, now these are very unique and different. So while aiming, flames will accumulate on the arrowhead before being fired off as an attack, and it has a different effects based on how long the energy has been charged. So at charge level 1, it fires off a flaming arrow that deals pyro damage. At charge level 2, similar to Ganyu's charge level 2, it generates a maximum of 3 kindling arrows based on time spent charging and releasing them as part of this aimed shot. Kindling arrows will home in on nearby opponents, also dealing pyro damage on hit. So You know how Ganyu has kind of her shoot, her arrow explodes, and then some ice arrows shoot out of that? Well, this is quite literally shooting all of the pyro arrows out of yourself, including some fireworks, which is a really cool, really cool set of normal attacks, right? So then moving on to her elemental skill with a flourish of incense, fireworks, a ring of saltpeter surrounds Yoimiya. So during this time, arrows fired by Yoimiya's normal attacks will be blazing arrows, and their damage will be increased and converted to pyro damage. So it's basically a free pyro infusion for your basic attacks, which is crazy. The second charged level of a normal attack, firework flare up, will not generate kindling arrows during this time. This effect will deactivate when Yoimiya leaves the field. So basically it's saying when you activate her E, you don't want to be using your charged attacks because you're not going to be generating those homing shots anymore. So it literally is going to be used specifically to just pop it and then start firing off like crazy with your normal attacks, which actually makes her sound like a really exciting bow user. Not that bow users are some of my favorite characters. I actually don't really like them personally. And then there's going to end up being her ultimate ability. As her original creation, the Ryukin Saki Frage, I probably destroyed that sentence, leaps into the air. Yoimiya fires forth a blazing rocket, bursting with surprises that deals AoE pyro damage and marks one of the hit opponents with Aurorus Blaze. Probably pronounced that wrong as well, but whatever. The Blaze Aura is going to make it so that all normal, charged, and plunging attacks, elemental skills, and elemental bursts by any party member other than Yoimiya that hit an opponent marked by the Aurorus Blaze will trigger explosions, dealing AoE pyro damage. So that's going to trigger on all groups of enemies as well. So all the more reason this kind of makes me really wish that MiHoYo would end up fixing the auto targeting in the game, because you'll know that when you're in a crowd of enemies, it's really difficult to attack the enemy that you specifically want, unless of course you're using another bow character to complement Yoimiya, who's going to be your main bow character, which is kind of weird. So anyways, when an opponent affected by the Aurorus Blaze is defeated during the skill's duration, the effect will pass to another nearby opponent who will inherit the remaining duration. So once the Aurorus Blaze explosion may occur every 2 seconds, and when Yoimiya is down, the blaze effects created through her skill will be deactivated. So the blaze seems to last 10 seconds across the board, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, if you kill an enemy within that 10-second period, let's say you kill an enemy within 5 seconds, it means that the aura is going to launch to another enemy, and it's going to have 5 seconds left because the total duration would have been 10 seconds, right? So moving on to Yoimiya's passive talents, Blazing Match. When Yoimiya crafts decoration, ornament, and landscape type furnishing, she has a 100% chance to refund a portion of the materials used. Who cares? I guess those that love building. Okay, cool. Then there's Trips of the Troublemaker. During Taika Fire Dance, which is her E ability, hits with Yoimiya's normal attacks will increase her pyro damage by 2%. This effect lasts for 3 seconds and can have a maximum of 10 stacks. So basically her E ability is just slowly building and building and building even more pyro damage. So yeah. And then her other passive is that when using her ultimate ability, it causes nearby party members, not including Yoimiya, to gain a 10% attack increase for 15 seconds. Additionally, a further attack bonus will be added on based on the number of Tricks of the Troublemaker stacks, that's the other passive talent that we just talked about, Yoimiya possesses when using her ultimate ability. Each stack increases the attack bonus by 1%. So that means that you could get an additional 10% so long as you ended up having all of those 10 stacks. So you would use her E ability to slowly attack enemies and build up those stacks over, resetting the timer every 3 seconds. So you'd pretty much try to get that as close to maximum as possible before you end up popping your ultimate ability, so that you and your party members could end up benefiting from the buff, or more specifically just your party members actually, which means that you would pop that and then swap your character, or if you're playing in multiplayer, she would be absolutely cracked. So now let's move on to her constellations, which these are very weird, but also very, very game-changing with her, dude. Like, oh my god. So her C1, the Aurorus Blaze, created by her ultimate ability, lasts for an extra 4 seconds. So that's 14 seconds total. Additionally, when an opponent affected by the Aurorus Blaze is defeated when its duration, Yoimiya's attack is increased by 20% for 20 seconds. Good God. So you defeat an enemy, it causes all the AoE explosions, hops to another enemy, and then you just get a free 20% damage boost. That's crazy, dude. I mean, of course, that's tied to use your ult and then, and then kill the enemy that was tagged by your ult, which generally is pretty hard to do in the open world, or at least it is with the current version of the game, because enemies usually will end up just getting one shot by your ultimate ability, except for Inazuma. Apparently Inazuma is going to end up being wholeheartedly difficult. We're going to be able to fight Abyss Lecterns just out in the open world, which I've been waiting for that, dude. I wanted to get them out of the Spiral Abyss so I could actually fight a worthy opponent out in the open world. Her C2, when Yoimiya's Pyro damage scores a crit hit, Yoimiya will gain a 25% Pyro damage bonus for 6 seconds. This effect can be triggered even when Yoimiya is not the active character. Meaning that the blazing aura that causes Pyro AoE, that would still count as Yoimiya doing the damage, so you could use another character attacking enemies that are triggered with the aura, and then it would still end up just giving Yoimiya an extra 25% Pyro damage bonus. So you would basically use that, I suppose, while you were on your cooldown with your E ability, and then when your E ability is ready to rock, then you just, pop her back out and then you're ready to go. Her C3 obviously just ends up increasing her E abilities talent level. Her C4, when Yoimiya's own Aurorus Blaze triggers an explosion, the Fire Dance, or her E ability cooldown, is decreased by 1.2 seconds. Okay, so Jesus. Everything about this kit is just super duper overpowered, isn't it? And then her C5 obviously just increases her ult. And then here's her C6. So during her Taika Fire Dance, which is her E ability, Yoimiya's normal attacks have a 50% chance of firing an extra kindling arrow that deals 60% of its original damage. This damage is considered normal attack damage, though. So it's basically not an infused with pyro attack that can just end up being additional damage. So that's just an additional passive attack that has a 50% chance of triggering and only does 60% of damage, which, I mean, that would still end up bringing your damage up with Yoimiya for sure, but generally speaking, that's kind of a weak C6. It's not, I mean, I guess it is just passive damage, but it just doesn't really sound super duper inventive or sound really, really cool, but I mean, whatever. It's not like you need to go for C6 anyways, right? As I'm sitting here with Kazuha C6. What's wrong with me? Yeah, so based on how she's set up, it seems like her kit is most of all going to end up being a DPS. So very similar to what I've got on my Hu Tao would probably be the build that you end up using with her. Obviously, with the different bows, you could use an energy regen one, but that doesn't really seem like it's going to be as good as either just using a crit rate bow or a crit damage bow. It entirely is up to you, though. Obviously, I'm looking at a spear, but just pretend that I'm not, okay? Point is, we've kind of got the standard set of weapons. One bow that you could probably end up using to good effect. Where is it? So we ended up getting anything that's got elemental mastery is going to be okay, just because we are talking about pyro here, but pyro reactions can end up critting, so that's why you usually just go for a full damage set. You could go for attack percentage bow, I guess. I don't know. I mean, generally speaking, you're just going to be using kind of a standard damage bow. I don't have the best examples. You could either end up using some of the forged ones or one out of the battle pass, but ultimately the artifacts are going to be your bread and butter, which you can end up using a 4-piece pyro set if you want to, just because you're going to get that 15% pyro buff, and it sounds like she's going to have a lot of her attacks being pyro damage just because of the fact that she's actually infusing, which means that a physical damage build, I mean, not that that's a thing for a bow character, but my point is that you don't really want to just build up your base attack, because it's going to scale better if you just end up building up that pyro, right? So obviously the 4-piece set is going to increase overloaded burning damage by 40% and increase vaporize and melt damage by 15%. Using an elemental skill increases the 2-piece set by 50% of its starting value for 10 seconds. So either way, pyro set seems like the best one for her. Obviously, you're going for a attack damage sans more than likely. And then your goblet is going to end up being pyro damage, and your hat is going to either be crit rate or crit damage, depending. The other thing too, though, is you could, I suppose, go for an elemental mastery, or not elemental mastery, energy recharge build, just because of the fact that a lot of her abilities seem to work even when she's off the field, which could be really helpful to end up having the energy recharge, so that you end up just generally making her, you know, build up her abilities a lot faster. Generally, I would probably just build her as a DPS, but that's just because that's all I do with all of my characters. Especially her being a pyro character means that her reactions are going to be absolutely cracked, especially because we're going to Inazuma and everything's electro. I mean, obviously Ayaka is more fine-tuned to that because cryo go burr on electro, but anyways, generally speaking, I'm probably not gonna roll for her, and I don't know if I'm gonna end up rolling for her weapon banner at all. I don't know. I have a buddy of mine that's gonna end up rolling for Yoimiya, so that's kind of where I'll end up experiencing the joy of Yoimiya through my friend. I feel like this is a really fun way of playing Genshin, because it means that I don't have to continually drop down money for absolutely every single character in the game, which of course I know kind of sucks for you guys, because it means I don't get firsthand experience to end up talking about the character. But I mean, there's like hundreds of other people that are already talking about all these characters, and some of them in much better detail than I can. Either way, I just wanted to kind of get you guys caught up and ready now that we've actually seen the official dev live stream, which is absolutely awesome. Most of all, I'm just excited that we're gonna have a new area to explore. For crying out loud, it's about time. Thanks for watching, though, gamers. Smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want to support the channel, and why does that keep happening? Literally, why that happened like in my Ayaka video too. Bye, guys.